What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is, because people get to know you, they get to see you.
But, what's the culture like at the business? What do we stand for, the values?
I've got to tick that box on my personal development programme I don't really want to be here.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated, yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times. And only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews, and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so, into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer, or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk. Here's another discussion on Scale Up Radio that left me feeling really inspired, and I'm sure that it will do for you as well when you listen to it. So today I interview Sam Spoors, who is the founder and managing director of Talentheads, and they serve as an internal recruitment team, if you like, for growing businesses. And we have a great discussion around recruitment, all of the things we need to be thinking about now in recruitment, how things have changed, and some of Sam's thoughts around the recruitment side of things. But we have much more of a discussion than that, than just about recruitment. It's around the whole of her scale-up journey. You'll really hear the passion and drive that comes through from Sam, how she's organising her business to make sure that the culture remains strong as she grows her team, which is now at 12 people. She founded the business in the beginning of lockdown, so she's got that far in a relatively short period of time. And I think when you listen to Sam, you'll understand how she's managed to do that. So some really strong insights. And I love Sam's answer as well as to when I asked her what legacy that she wants to leave with her business. So why don't we just go across and listen to the rest of Sam's story. Welcome to another episode of Scale Up Radio. I'm here today with Sam Spoors, who is the founder and managing director of Talentheads. So Sam, welcome to Scale Up Radio.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So Talentheads, tell us about Talentheads.
Yeah, of course. So I set Talentheads up in the pandemic in 2020, and Talentheads are basically the internal recruitment team for growing businesses. So I saw there was an opportunity there for something that was external, that wasn't a recruitment agency, that I thought could add a lot more value to businesses that were growing. So I went for it and thought the pandemic doesn't need to hold me back. Let's go ahead and let's get this all done. Brilliant.
So you're a pandemic business. Brilliant. And that's it's a brave move. And also, we all love to hate recruitment agencies, don't we? As business owners.
Mm-hmm. And I've got experience of that, actually. I started my career in recruitment agencies for 11 years. And then when I went in-house, I didn't actually realise that reputation actually existed because it was my bubble for so long. Yeah. And it wasn't until I actually went into a business as the head of recruitment for that business that I realised, oh, that's the reason why people don't get recruitment agencies. And the difference between internal and external support, that's why I totally identified that there was an opportunity there for Talentheads.
So tell us about that. What does make you different? You're talking about internal. What does make you different then from the typical recruitment agent that we all think of, where they take our fee, a finder's fee, and we don't really want to use them, but we do as a last resort because we feel we know we have to. But so tell what's different about what you do.
So a recruitment agency basically takes a job brief and sends you over some CVs that they believe match that job brief. And then, like you say, the end result is that once that person's appointed, they send you a nice bill to say thank you very much. With Talentheads, what we do that is unique is actually we go into a business and we recruit as that business. So you don't hear Talentheads being talked about at all. You see the employer brand of the businesses that we go into to support as their recruitment team. And it is a long-term strategy. So we go in there and we understand and we seek to get the knowledge on the business. We look at values, we look at the strategy, we look at what the mission is and the journey of that business, what kind of people stay, what kind of issues have they got. So we really get under the skin of, what are the issues and what have they tried previously with recruitment so that we could better advise them and be part of their team to get the right individuals who are going to stay in the business for the longer term. And we don't charge fees either. So we don't do on-placement fees. So there's no negotiation when someone gets a job of trying to push it up by another 2,000. So that has an implication on the invoice. It's nothing like that. Basically, businesses buy a certain amount of days per month that they need to help them with their recruitment and their talent acquisition.
So I'm familiar with, for example, with headhunting. What's the difference between what you do then and the headhunting aspects? Because in a way they're acting as that dedicated recruiter for me, aren't they, if I do a headhunting approach?
Yeah, headhunting is only one part of the recruitment process. So we do factor that into the full recruitment process from, finding out firstly the role that we're trying to recruit. Does it exist and does that skill set exist? And have we got a job description and a person's specification? Have we got the right advert? So actually we'll do all of that work as well as going out and sourcing the candidates. And part of that strategy might be going out and headhunting individuals. But when we go out and headhunt individuals, it's very much around, again, about what the proposition of the business we're supporting has to offer for that individual, rather than what Talentheads thinks is a salesy way of being able to get someone hooked into a business and get them in the recruitment process. So it's very much around, the work that we do with the businesses is to really understand them. So when we go out, people actually think they're engaging with someone who works in the business, who's got all the insight, all the information, and can identify with the reasons why that person might be interested in that opportunity with that business.
Great. And also traditionally with a traditional recruitment agency, we tend to think that they've got however much it comes across as being targeted for us, they've got this pool of CVs that they're hiking around different companies until some of it sticks.
Yeah, we don't have an ATS here, so an applicant tracking system where recruitment agencies would have a central, like a CV, really big black book, lots and lots of CVs on there where they're kind of sharing them with different businesses and they've got different rates and they choose to do whatever they want to do with that kind of central database. We've purposely not had one, and it's nothing that we want in the business, because I do think that does give the portrayal of a recruitment agency. What we do instead is we build the talent banks of the businesses that we're supporting.
Yeah.
So we implement an applicant tracking system on behalf of that business, or any of the applicants or all of the applicants that come through from any of the campaigns that we run as that business. All of those CVs, should it be through an advert or proactive search, all go into being owned by the business, because the business is paid for those days. So they might have a talent map of 50 individuals that they can go and contact in 6 months, 9 months time, that belongs to them, rather than belongs to Talentheads, where we only give 2 CVs of that, CVs to that client and 2 CVs to that client to get everything.
So it's very much like going part way to building our own internal recruitment
Absolutely.
team. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do feel like that's what businesses want. They want an element of control, and they want something longer term, and they want to work with consultants who will actually educate them and upskill them and help them develop a strategy that belongs to them in the longer term. One of our values is legacy, and it's all about leaving a business in a better place than what it was when we originally went in there. So it's about kind of helping them create their legacy as well as us grow the business. Talentheads is our legacy as well.
Great. So you've been going since the beginning of the pandemic. Can you give us a feel for the stage that you got? Because I know you were shortlisted for the Great British Entrepreneur Award, so you've had some national recognition already, which is great. What sort of stage are you at with the business? Sort of, what are we, three-ish years on?
Yeah, just about hit 3 years. Yeah, just about hit 3 years. We have moved from my kitchen table into an old yoga den, was our original first office, which we made into our lovely little office in the first instance, but we outgrew that in the new year. So of this year, we've moved into a lovely, fully functioning office where we've got proper chairs, proper desks, risk assessments done for everyone who works here. There's 12 of us in the team,
12.
and we've just recently been nominated as well for the Chamber of Commerce's Entrepreneur of the Year award as well this year. So we're going all guns blazing.
Brilliant. So team of 12, are they a mix of full-time and part-time?
Yes, they are. Yep.
Good. So you mentioned that essentially companies are buying hours or buying time. So how does the charging model work then? Is that a monthly retainer based on the level of support?
Absolutely. The minimum kind of we work with clients tends to be around a 3-month stint, so we can really get to understand the business and add some value a little bit longer term than just the transaction. But it tends to be a number of days per however many roles they're recruiting, or if there's a certain project that we need to do, we'll quote those days and then they'll run for the 3 months plus. So the client can really forecast what they're going to spend on recruitment, and it's all there able to be put in their budgets, and we know exactly what our expectations are for those certain amount of days per month that we're supporting them.
Yeah, excellent. And who's your typical client? What do they look like?
Do you know what? It's more of a character than a type of business. Right. Because we've got now the 3 years that we've been going, we've got experience in space, manufacturing, engineering, retail, hospitality and leisure, professional services. We've worked pretty much now across all different industries and sectors, and size of business. We've worked in businesses who have got no recruitment team to businesses who have got a recruitment team but need a fresh way of approaching talent because it's so competitive out there at the moment, and people do need to be a lot more enticing and to have a strategy on recruitment rather than just recruiting individuals and bums on seats. So the ideal character for us is a business owner or a senior stakeholder who can see that they've not got it right yet and they want to grow by getting the right people in, and they want to retain their people. Those kind of people who are quite willing to open the doors, bear their business and show their business for what it is, and ask for help and actually take our recommendations and suggestions and let us get involved in the business. They tend to be the relationships that we look for. We look for that growth mindset, that entrepreneurship and an element, we quite like the best bit I think about the business that we've got is that we get to learn from a lot of other businesses as well. So It's very much around the kind of character. Can we work with them? Do they appreciate, can they see the value added? Because if they just want to tick a box and say, yeah, recruitment done, they're probably not the kind of clients that we're going to get what they need from us and what we need from them.
All right. And we've seen a lot of change in recruitment, certainly over the last decade or so, but even more so just over the last couple of years and things, haven't we? What are the trends? What are the things that we need to be thinking about in recruitment now?
I definitely think it's a candidate-led market. So as businesses, as employers, we need to be super mindful about how we engage with individuals. Definitely since COVID, and I still feel like a bit of a broken record talking about COVID, but it did change behaviours of people looking for work. So people have had an opportunity to be around their families or elderly parents, or they've moved to where they need to be. They've had an opportunity to stop the hamster wheel and actually think about the kind of business that they want to work for. And a lot of people now really want to work for a business that have got similar values and a purpose that they can be proud of being associated with. So the trends definitely are is that as employers, we need to be mindful of that, and we need to give people an experience, and we need to really think about how do our values stack up, how do our benefits stack up, and actually what does our shop window look like, which is recruitment. Really, it's usually the first interaction anyone will get with the brand is when someone goes and reaches out to them or shows them a job opportunity. Should that be a candidate or should that be a potential user of their services or their product? So it's a lot more strategic. It's a specialism now. It's a needy market. People know their worth now, and businesses really need to kind of hone into it so that they can then make something that's fit for purpose to get the right people into their business to help them grow.
Yeah. So gone are the days when we can be going, well, people should be grateful
Oh,
offering a job.
yeah. And gone are the days where you can put an advert out and you hope that you'll get 50 candidates through and all 50 of them will be fantastic. You'll do some interviews and hopefully one of them will get appointed. You've got to work a lot harder now on it. You've got to think about the messaging. There's a lot more work that's expected of you, and rightly so. You want to get people in and you want to keep them. So there is a lot more forward thinking, a lot more looking at the longer term, a lot more of kind of trying to be more forward thinking and creative with your recruitment practices.
Yeah, and how, as one of the challenges that we often face as a small and medium-sized business is attracting good talent and persuading them that actually they should come to us as opposed to maybe going to a bigger brand. What sort of things can we be thinking about there? What are people looking for, and what might we be able to attract them with if we can't necessarily pay the full level of salary, for example, that a big brand might be able to pay?
Do you know, I think there's a really interesting point here, because I think recruitment's all about identifying your audience and then engaging with that audience to pull them in. And I think not every single person wants a foosball table or a beanbag to sit on or a giant screen that plays all the matches when England are playing. People aren't wanting that. I think those people will go automatically towards those bigger businesses, and that's fine, because again, if we're talking about retention, we don't want to pick those people who actually are quite happy with being put in a box because there's lots of people around them who'll do other parts of the process. I think there is people, or there's audiences or the candidates that are fit for purpose in the bigger organizations. And us smaller businesses, actually, it's about embracing the uniqueness that then speaks to the uniqueness of the individual who that will really float their boat for. So I think it's all about being honest. If you work in a business where it's a mezzanine and you are on top of the manufacturing function and it's really loud and you look down and you can see the people working, but this person's role is going to be working in the mezzanine and you don't think that is sexy enough, to the right individual, that will be sexy. They'll think about that as, actually, what a great opportunity to be able to see all the people that I'm going to speak to who are on the shop floor below me. You've got to really sell the honest expectations, the reality of it. And for the right individual who's going to come into the business and therefore stay, that will turn them on, that will switch a light on them, and they'll be able to say, yeah, keep your foosball table. I want to work on that mezzanine. I want to see all the people that I want to be part of this business with, because we're doing something fantastic together.
Okay. And on that sort of doing something fantastic together, what are you seeing in the way of change in terms of the way that potential candidates are looking for corporate social responsibility or doing good, those kind of things? What would you say there?
I think it's really important. I think even from my business, from Talentheads' perspective, one of our values is community. And it's really important to me that I get out and I do something that's contributing to society and to community. And we've got a corporate social responsibility strategy. I totally get it. And I think actually it would be quite a lonely place if we didn't reach out and try and help each other and have that. So I get where candidates would want that connection. And I think it goes back to the whole, they want to work for a business that's got purpose, and you've got to find out from your business's perspective, what is your purpose? So from a recruitment perspective, for example, for Talentheads, it's not about filling jobs. That's not why I get out of bed in the morning. I get out of bed in the morning because Talentheads helps grow businesses have a legacy. I'm part of that journey. And I also help individuals put food on the tables, help them create a legacy where they lead their families into buying their next house. So, making them feel self-worth and their confidence because they've got the job they've always wanted. There's got to be a why to it. There's got to be a purpose to it. And I genuinely think a lot of individuals nowadays do want to feel that connection of, I don't want to just have a job. I don't want to just go through the motions. There's got to be something. It's got to be something bigger. And if you can kind of communicate that on behalf of your business, I think you will find people who have got similar aspirations who will cling on to you and want to be part of that.
So that comes back a little bit to what you said when I asked you what does your ideal client look like, and you were saying it's character. It's something in there that makes up our character, isn't it? Both from a business point of view, but also then as an individual, does that character of the individual fit? Or does if I am the individual, does the character of that company, does that fit with me? Do I buy into where they're going and everything that we might say makes up that character?
Absolutely. It is. It's about connection. I think it's about respect. It's about being human and being authentic and all those great things that you read in books now around business. It's around that kind of, that association and that bond connection.
Great. Good. So let's take me back to the beginning of the pandemic when what got you to the point when you decided to set up Talentheads?
Yeah, I have got a bit of a story, if I'm honest. So I suppose all entrepreneurs have got a story some way, shape or form. But I think I mentioned I've worked in recruitment agencies. I've also worked in-house for a business as the head of recruitment. So I can see the difference between what an agency provides and what an in-house recruitment function looks like. And then I think when I was in-house, I definitely believe I found my niche there. I was able to own something that was pretty substantial. I mean, I worked within a business that had 73 different sites, 2 head offices across the full UK. We recruited all disciplines, all roles, all levels. I brought a new team in and I upskilled them and developed them. And it was such a fantastic time. I was out doing photo shoots for recruitment campaigns in the Lake District, and then I was doing in a graduate assessment centre in Dorset. It was just fantastic. Yeah. But I got to the point where I was a little bit burnt out, if I'm honest. I was trying to prove myself constantly, own something, take the accountability, and I was on the road a lot from my family, and work's always been really important to me. I've always been super ambitious. And I got to the point where actually I had a bit of a health scare and I thought, oh my goodness, why am I doing all of this? This is just ridiculous. And I kind of thought, I want to do something where I can control it to a degree and I can learn all the stuff that I've learned over the last 20 years. I can take and I can share it with multiple businesses. So I kind of decided that I was going to take that jump into setting up my own business. And before I actually set up Talentheads, I did have another business where very quickly I got investment because of the business model, very similar business model to Talentheads. Okay. Got an investor involved. And this is one of my biggest learnings. We went into partnership without a business name, without a values match. It was very much a convenience where the investors wanted to establish something that was new and quite fresh, and I saw this as an opportunity to not take the full financial risk that an entrepreneur usually would. Mm-hmm. So we went into this partnership together, and it wasn't a very harmonious partnership, to be honest. My face was the face that kind of represented the business, but I had very little control behind the scenes. It was a quite a difficult one, and to be honest, it all came to a head when COVID hit and the investors pulled the funding. Right. And I was suddenly left going, oh my God, what's going on? So Talentheads was the rebirth of learning a little bit about how to create a business in a bit of a different scenario, with lots of learnings that I took away with me on that one. Okay,
good. So can we unpick that just a little bit? If you were to go back to that point where you were going to set up the business with an investor, what would you do differently?
I don't think I would have. Firstly, I don't think I would have gone into business with an investor so early on. Okay. I would definitely done my checks in regards to, are we on the same page in regards to values and what we're trying to achieve with this business? I went in very naively from corporate world into establishing a business, and what I thought at the time was a really good way of kind of getting myself there actually was probably a very long way for getting to the point where I am now. I think investors are brilliant, and I know lots of businesses that work with investors. I just think that you probably need to know who you are and what your business is and what you're trying to achieve before you go and then get that equity or get that relationship or that partnership built up. And it's very difficult when you're trying to own something where actually you don't actually really own it. It's a different model.
Did you have ownership? I mean, how was that set up?
Yeah, it was set up where basically I was the ideas and I was the concept, and it was my experience that that identified that need was there, and there was a model or a service that could actually stand up by itself and actually had credibility. But actually the investors were the powerhouse of finances. So they were the ones that were paid the salaries of the team that I had around me, all of that sort of thing. So really when COVID hit and the finances came out of the business, it left us in a very sticky situation.
Right. And what was it a case of just closing down the business and everybody walking away, or how did you?
I did fight for a bit harder than that, Kevin. I was kind of like, wait a second, I've had this business, I had it for a year and a half before that happened. And I was like, all of these are my contacts. We've got some great pieces of work on. I want to leave with my head held high. This needs to be done in a way. And we did have a few discussions around, is there any IP to buy? Is there a way that I can kind of claim back this? Yep. But actually it got to the point where the world was in such a crazy state at the time, it just made sense to just stop that, support the people that I was responsible for, finish off the contracts that I said I was going to deliver to the highest standards, take a step back, wake up a few nights in the middle of the night sweating and a little bit like what has happened, and kind of go through a little bit of grieving, and then like, actually no, I believe in this, right, what are we going to do? Get back on my feet, dust myself down, let's start again. And that's exactly what happened. And I can't look back now. No,
absolutely. So that was the impetus to get started. As you say, the almost the rebirth of the business. So take us through what happened next.
So very basic. So details wise, I went and got a startup loan, got my £25,000 in my back pocket, engaged with a brand marketing company who got me and understood what I was all about, who I had a bit of a relationship previously with, so knew what I was trying to achieve, invested the money into that, looked at my network while everything was getting set up, just kind of tried to help around as much as I could, do some matchmaking for relationships in regards to business relationships while the Northeast was going through COVID and people were losing their jobs, and just giving free advice and things as I was setting the business up and getting the brand up and running and getting the collateral together and getting a website created and social media channels created. And then I basically went out to the market and just said, look, I'm here again. I know it's COVID, ridiculous timing. One of our values is brave. I was like, however, I'm here if you need me. If not, I'm just going to learn. And I signed myself up to lots of courses, things that previously people had been doing on my behalf, Canva courses, marketing courses, how do you write a marketing strategy, how do you sell. I got myself on a couple of speaking slots in some of the kind of local areas, just talking about recruitment and sharing some of my experience. Right. But I kind of anticipated, I set the business up around the October time, and I had anticipated that I probably until the new year things wouldn't get moving, but I was going to just take that and I was just going to learn. But straight away, one of my old clients who used to be a hiring manager in the business where I was the head of recruitment came to me straight away and said, I've got your first gig. Here's your first gig. Brilliant. I was like, that's really nice. And that was followed very quickly with a strategy piece by an IT company. And then in the January, we won the contract for Coupland's the bakeries. And by that point, I was working very long hours. I was super keen with the learning that I found or that I'd learned from the investor situation, that I wanted to grow financial resilience in the business. Yeah. If I was going to recruit people, I wanted to make sure that I recruited them extremely responsible, and with it being my money, that I was going to look after them in the right way. So I worked until the August of the following year by myself, managing these contracts, working ridiculous hours, just being extremely conscientious and resilient and all those things that we have to pull in on. And then in the summer of the kind of that year, I started to recruit, and I've been taking on individuals since then. And I've managed to now get myself to a position where I'm less in the delivery and I'm more able to look at the strategy of where Talentheads has gone and do things like this with yourself to position us for the next stage of our growth.
Excellent. So what was your first hire? What kind of role? Was that a recruitment consultant as such, or what was the first hire?
My first hire was a talent partner, so someone who'd worked internally in recruitment teams before, who wanted to share their experience that they'd recruited and that they had learned by recruiting internally with multiple businesses, as I did. So that was my first hire, and she's still with me now. She's part of my senior leadership team.
Great. So how have you structured that team of 12 now? What does that look like?
So I've got a team of, I've got 3 SLT, senior leadership team that is kind of reports to myself. Yep. I've got 2 lead talent partners who are responsible for the account management of the clients that we have and making sure that their expectations are met. We have regular check-ins. We're on site enough of the time to be able to really get under the skin of the businesses that we work with. Mm-hmm. The other lady who's part of my SLT is a development partner, and her role is to write and deliver training to internal professionals about how to be more effective when going through the recruitment process. So again, it's about that legacy piece around, going and educating and supporting businesses to be as good to recruit themselves as possible, so that when we step out, they're able to go and recruit by themselves. So Judith's responsible for that area of the business. Under those 3 leaders, that SLT, I have talent partners who are responsible for going out and being present in businesses and ensuring that the right individuals are found for the business, and the process is seamless and everyone knows kind of what is happening with that relationship. And then I have talent engagement advisors who do a lot of the kind of research, which is one of our USPs around. They're the people who do the benchmarking exercises, do the competitor analysis, who put job descriptions together, who look at the branding, who look at the social media presence of the competitors who might want the skill sets over the businesses that we're supporting. They'll do a lot of the intelligence insight gathering to be able to recommend the next steps to the businesses that we're supporting.
Very nice. And with your previous experience when you were in-house, it sounds like you're managing a pretty significant team.
Yeah.
And I can feel the way you're talking. I'm suspecting you brought quite a few lessons in from managing larger teams into where you are now, what you're doing now. What sort of things have you brought across that you've learned from looking after lots of people?
Yeah, I think it's that everyone's different. I think that's the main thing that I've learned about teams, especially when you start getting volumes of individuals who are part of your team or your business. I'm very self-aware, so I know I'm futuristic. I know that I get bored quite easily. I know what my limitations are. And I think over the years, one of the things that I've learned is that how that impacts other people in my team and what I need to be aware of. So I think it's all about that kind of, again, being personable. I mean, I clean the toilets out. I make the cup. I make a big thing about in the morning. I make the first cuppers while everyone's doing their huddles.
All right.
Things like that about, I'm quite happy, and my job is to come up with ideas and to business develop and to look at the strategy of the business. But I'll go down and pick up the fruit. I'll go when someone's lost a dog in their family. I'll go with some flowers and make sure that they're okay. It's about that human connection, that human touch, that vulnerability as well. There's been times when I've come in and I could just be honest and say, oh, I'm not feeling it today. Something's happening at home. Actually, I'm going to go and do what do you need from me, and then I'm going to go home for the morning and get my head into something else, and I'll be back in this afternoon. I'll have a spring on my step again. It's just about these people are working for you. They choose, as a manager, they choose to work for you, and therefore you need to make yourself available and make yourself human so that they can feel that connection. It's all about the connection again that I was talking about earlier. People need to feel that with you to follow you.
Brilliant. So how do you, as the team gets bigger, and you just mentioned huddles, they're obviously one part of it, but how do you keep those connections going, encourage those connections, and equally find that balance of keeping the right culture in the business with making sure you've got your finger on the pulse and the right things are getting done? How do you manage that?
It's a really difficult job. It's actually, I think, having a business, that is the most difficult part. I think with people having individual things going on in their personal lives and different intentions or ambitions in their work life, and trying to bring everyone together to be a collective and to have a culture, and particularly working in an industry that is unfortunately so negatively perceived, that culture is what will make us different and what is our differentiator between any of what could be perceived as agency competitors. So huddles are great. Every single morning we do a team huddle. We do at the end of every month, I do a team debrief, and we talk about what's happened in the month and what's going to happen the following month and what our priorities are, what our financials are. Every year, at the end of our financial year, I'll do this is what's happening in our financial year and this is what our future year looks like. I think, again, it goes back to transparency and sharing everything and giving people a voice. Even when we make a new hire, the team all contribute to that hiring process. Yeah. When individuals come in, they have an interview with the line manager, then they'll meet some of the team, then they'll come back again and shadow some of the team. That culture needs to be felt from an individual before we bring them in for them to be part of it, because the culture is so important. Teams, I mean, we've got a Teams chat, even though the majority of us do work from the office. We do a lot of celebrating examples of people embracing our values, and we share that on Teams. We do things like photo shoots every quarter, just again to make everyone proud of being part of Talentheads, and we stand next to each other and we have fun. We've got hoodies with Talentheads on that we all wear. Mm-hmm. We do things together and we listen. I'd like to think we listen to what people say, and I will go over and above to make people know exactly what the whole point of this is and make them feel like there is a reason for them coming to Talentheads every morning.
Very good. Love it. Some really good thoughts in there from based on real experience. Excellent. You talk about values a lot, and you're obviously doing a lot of recruitment for other companies as well as for yourself. What sort of methods do you use to find out whether candidates share your values and really are the right kind of person to fit into your culture?
Well, we do it by sharing our values when we start recruiting. So we put the values in our adverts. We talk a lot. When anyone does any research on who we are, you'll see our values are spread everywhere. So there's no escaping it from anyone who's potentially looking at us to be their employer. And then when it comes to writing them in the advert, that again, it's clear that this is what we stand for. We stand for brave, legacy and community. And then what we do is we'll do as part of the interview process, we'll ask people to say, an example would be, these are our values. I'm sure you've seen it in your research that you've done. Which one sticks out to you and what does it mean to you? Right. And really try and see if they do get what the values are. And we talk a lot about our CSR strategy as well and how they tie into the values, and our benefits as well. They tie into our values. So, for example, we'll give 2 days every year where you can go and do some volunteering, and that links closely into our value of community. And then we recommend this for our clients as well. When you've got values, they need to be embodied. They need to be real. They need to be come to life. So how do they work from your kind of shop window of a recruitment campaign all the way through to your benefits, to your working environment, all of those sorts of things, so that actually people can see that they're genuine and they're part of your DNA.
Love it. And not just 3 nice words written up on a wall somewhere.
I've got an experience of that. When I used to work in a business, I'll not name the business, but anyone when I say it will know. Opposite my desk, it had have fun, and it was one of the company values. And there's nothing worse than a Friday night when it's 8 o'clock and you've still got stuff that's in your diary that you need to get through, and you're looking at that thing in front of you that says have fun. You're like, really? There's nothing more disheartening than a set of values that actually aren't true and are almost kind of like, you will have fun, Sam. Have fun today. Yeah. It's not a fun day. So they've got to be real, I think, because of my experience of hearing. I get a bit sad when I hear about people when I say, oh, values of your business, what are they? And they don't know. I'm like, why would you work for a business that you don't know what they're about and what they stand for? I just kind of, for me as an individual, that's just one of the things that motivates me to be part of something that's a collective, and we're in it together, and something that's a bit more than just the bread and butter of the service or the product that you're selling.
Love it. Brilliant. Good. So I want to explore a little bit. You mentioned before that you make sure that you recruit sensibly and responsibly in terms of when you're ready financially. So how do you go about doing that? What sort of thinking do you go through to know that you're ready to recruit somebody else?
I think, to be honest, as a business owner, I don't think you'll ever get over, it doesn't matter how financially responsible you've been or financially resilient your business is, every month when you have to pay salaries, you always look at that pipeline and go, oh, and it doesn't matter how much is in the pipeline or how big the salaries are, you always get that crushing feeling of, my God, this is a big responsibility. I've got 12 people to pay, and have we got enough workload that's coming through to be able to balance that and give us profit? So we can't get away from the fact that that is an absolute reality. There's lots of things that people say, like, you should be able to carry your costs for 3 months, and then that's a responsible thing to do. For me, if you ask my husband, I can spend our personal money, no problem at all, but I cannot spend our business money. I just feel like it belongs to the people, it belongs to us. And if another COVID was to come across us, or, something that was not in our control, I want to be able to make sure that there's enough money in the bank there where I could take a breath, make some good decisions, and to take the time to do what I need to do, depending on what has been thrown at me. So...
Okay. So do you have a number of months operational costs that you aim to have, like that 3 months you mentioned?
Yeah, well, I'm conscious of that, and the business has more than that. And I only yesterday, actually, I had a full day, a strategy day with my husband, who is our accountant, just basically going through the next financial year. And if we were to take on 4 new team members, for example, what does that mean on how much we need to make on a monthly basis? And then what does that mean for our profit and our EBITDA? And I have regular conversations just to keep getting that clarity and just making sure that I just don't get too ahead of myself and my ego doesn't talk, and I don't grow the business because of my ego, and we grow it all because actually it would benefit the client, or it would service our values, or it would help some of the team members out. I always kind of go back, try and remove all of the emotion and just go back to the, right, can we physically afford this? And is it in the 5-year plan? And if it's not, is it a responsible thing to do?
Brilliant. And with your recurring revenue model, I mean, first of all, how much of your total turnover is based on recurring revenue?
Yeah, the majority of it is. I think I did all my numbers yesterday. I should have brought them with me today so I could discuss them with you. But the majority of I think we've got something like 85% of the businesses that we have as a client are retained on an ongoing basis.
Great.
So these businesses are with us, and that is a very fortunate position as a recruitment business to be in, where I can see what our next 6 to 8 months looks like in most cases, so I can grow the business responsibly from that perspective. Yeah,
and at the beginning of each month that essentially you've got all of that income coming in, so you're covered, and then any addition then hopefully is profit. But you're not scrabbling around at the beginning of each month thinking we've got to find some more clients to pay their bills.
Although I do find it really funny how, as business owners, some of us, and I'm saying some of us royally, the way that I think about it is, even though we set our own strategies on what we think our businesses could achieve year by year, they become something that is like an unbelievably exciting target to try and conquer. And really, I've got no one else to report it to. It's a target that I've made up and the team believe in, and we've gone for it, and we're going to hit our budget this financial year, and we're going to go over it actually. And for me, I'm like, yay! But actually, it's something that we set. That there's no, and I just find it thoroughly, like, when I speak to husband Paul, who is our accountant, like I mentioned about, this month, we might not be as over as I would like to be, and he's like, Sam, it's your business, and I'm like, yeah, I know, but still, set a target. Regardless of who set it, I want to achieve that target, and I want the team to be really, really excited about us smashing it.
Well, you're clearly really driven. What is it that drives you? What do you do it for? What's your legacy? What is that you're trying to get to?
Yeah, my legacy is I've got 4 children. So between myself and my partner, we've got 2 previous relationships. We've got 2 sets of children each.
Yeah.
Is that right? 2 children from my previous relationship and 2 children from my husband's previous relationship. So we've got a blended household, which is the norm in some houses now. And our children range from the ages of 8 to 15. And to be honest, before I met my husband, I've got 2 daughters. So I look at my daughters and I just think, as a role model, I want to be a positive role model. I want to leave something. I was brought up in a very different circumstance. My mum brought me up by herself with my sister. We had no money. I watched her work 3 or 4 jobs at once just to provide for us. And I think I always had it in me that I will never struggle. I will never do that. I put myself through university. I got 3 hardship loans to get myself through it. I didn't pay it off until I was 34. But I look at my children now and I'm kind of like, you can do it. Like, I don't want any excuses about, oh, woe's me, or this is against me, or this is happening. It's like, no, let's do it. You get one chance. I genuinely believe that you get good things happen to good people, and you've only got one opportunity on this earth. Like, what I want people to look back and go, God, she gave it a good shot, didn't she? I want to leave something that will make a difference, that people will look back and go, actually, do you know what? It wasn't just Sam Spoors works hard. It's like Sam Spoors made a difference.
Brilliant. Love it. One of my favourite answers, I think, that I've had to that question. So thank you for that.
Ah, that's good. Thank you.
Good. So where do you want to be in 5 years' time? What does good look like for you in 5 years?
5 years' time.
When I have you back on ScaleUp Radio to go, yeah, did we smash it, Sam?
5 years' time for me will be that actually I've got a team that don't need me anymore. I've built a team that I actually can do this because, again, for the love of it. And I've got a team that are motivated, developed, empowered, who are ready to take us to the next chapter, because we've got a 5-year plan. So 5 years is a perfect metrics to give us.
Right.
I would like to be in the position where I can maybe, spend some time walking the dogs. I mean, how lovely would that be? Or I can, be around a little bit more for the kids, because I've like I said, I've always been ambitious. I've always worked. And unfortunately, my daughter, who's now 11, she not that long ago drew a family portrait. And in the family portrait was a picture of me holding my laptop.
Oh.
And the crushing kind of like, oh, Lily Mae, is that how I really am? And she's like, yeah, ma'am, that's how you are. And I said, well, I'd give it up in a heartbeat for you. If you thought that this was too much and you didn't want me to do it, I would give it up in a heartbeat. And she's like, no, we really like it. We go on nice holidays, we do nice things, we like it. We make you are happy when you work. So yeah, I think in 5 years' time, it would be quite nice to maybe get a self-portrait or get the family portrait where I'm walking the dogs, or I'm kissing my daughter's head, or I'm doing something different to holding a laptop in my hand.
Excellent. Very nice. And let's hope your daughter is still making family portraits at that age.
I hope so. She's going to be a teenager, so she'll probably just not be speaking to me. So yeah. If she glances in my direction, that'll be a good thing, I suppose.
Good. Well, I've loved talking with you, Sam, and I loved your enthusiasm and passion for the business and the legacy that you're trying to leave. So fantastic. Are you all right for a few quick fire questions before we close?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, if you could go back to your younger self and you can pick when that might be, what advice would you give yourself? Believe
that everything happens for a reason. It does. I genuinely, it feels tough at the time, but actually, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You've got to just keep going, hold your head up, believe in it, and just keep pushing through.
Great. And you illustrated that really nicely with when the investors pulled out of that business. That's, you could have buried your head in your hands and given it all up, but you didn't. Yep.
It's unbelievable the amount of people who see that as a quality that they like to be associated with. I've got some clients who, when they talk to new team members, if we go out to expos and I introduce the client to some of the new team members or previous clients, and they'll say, oh, I remember when this happened with Sam. And when they talk about it, they're part of the journey of the clients, and it's unbelievable how much, just that reality of not everything is swimmingly great at all times. It creates maybe the story, the bit that people actually go, oh, she does believe in it, so we're going to believe in it too. It just builds that for you.
Brilliant. Books and podcasts or other resources, what would you recommend people listen to?
Yeah, we've got a book club here at Talentheads.
Oh.
Yeah. So one of the things, again, for communication, for culture, I'm really keen that we're all leaders regardless of our level or how many years experience we've got in the business. So I encourage reading and learning and jumping on webinars and all that sort of stuff. The last book that we read together, so the one that we've just done our book review on, is Legacy by James Kerr.
Yeah.
about the All Blacks. Fantastic book. I did recommend it to, I'm part of a ScaleUp Academy for the Entrepreneurs Forum, and I mentioned it at that. And I've seen a lot of people go, oh, take a note of it. And people have come back since saying, yeah, really good recommendation. So if anyone hasn't read that one, that's a great one.
Brilliant. Very good. Thank you. Apps. What apps or little bits of software or technology do you use?
That's an interesting one. One of the things that we use, I suppose, Teams is a bit of a boring one, but Teams actually plays a really good part in our business scaling up.
Yeah.
But one of the things that is a bit unique about us, we do quite a lot of interviews on behalf of businesses with candidates over a piece of software called Odro, which is a way of doing an interview digitally that actually captures the enthusiasm and the lights behind their eyes of an individual who's applying for a job opportunity. So we do, and then that we send on to a client, and the client can then actually use that as a first stage interview, which quickens up the recruitment process. So that's a bit of a go-to piece of software that works really well for us in our industry.
Oh, I've not heard of that. I didn't quite catch what you called it.
Odro.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Yeah. It's really good. It's a really good opportunity. Like, it's a way to be able to meet people from all over the country and do an interview with them online, and then use that as a way to be able to, like I say, make the recruitment process more efficient.
Yeah.
And get that engagement.
Yeah, great. Who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
Oosh.
Who do you look up to?
I look up to the previous CEO of the business where I was the head of recruitment internally. Mm-hmm. I look at that man with absolute admiration for how much he loved that business. And my desk was very close to his office. And I keep remembering times when he had his head in his hands. There's been times where it was just too much for him. And yeah, he's still really, really motivated me to want to do it myself. Again, that honesty. He knew his numbers. He knew what he was talking about, the passion. Geordie guy as well always helps if it's a Geordie.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, and we managed to get this far without talking about the Eurovision Song Contest at all, and maybe we'll do that. But anyway, and okay, and what's your most successful lead generation tactic? What works?
Ambassadors. So we've grown a lot organically. Genuinely, this business has grown by referrals and word of mouth. Yeah. So I surround myself with, other businesses that are outsourced services, so that their clients get our kind of method of outsourcing that to an expert. But HR consultants, legal professionals, finance professionals, people who help businesses scale. It's kind of. And it's two ways. It's about making referrals for them and then making referrals for us. And the conversion rate's much higher because they've already kind of done a little bit of the selling for us. So I definitely think it's about investing in relationships. And really, if you get someone who really gets what the business is about, looking after them, and then they can speak to their network on your behalf.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you very much indeed, Sam, for being my guest today. People would like to get hold of you or find out more about Talentheads. What's the best way for them to do that?
They can do it by jumping on our website, which is talentheads.co.uk. Or we have got a method of, one of the things that we talk about with a lot of our clients, which I'm sure will be really relevant to your audience, is around, when you're going out to recruit on behalf of your business, have you got everything in place to be able to go out and find the right individuals? So almost like a bit of a checklist to be able to say if you've got everything in place to be able to go out there and represent your business as positively as possible to be able to get the right people. If anyone wants to drop me a line at sam@talentheads.co.uk, I'd be quite happy to send them that template so they can do that themselves to see where they fare in the whole going out there and sourcing individuals as their business.
Brilliant. That sounds really helpful and really useful. Thank you very much, Sam. So, Sam, thank you very much indeed for being my guest today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion. And if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.